Good day, ma'am. Good day, classmate. We are the group 2 and the topic that we are going to discuss is all about Tourism Disaster Preparedness and Response Act 2025. So this law is related to the disaster preparedness and response in tourism destination. So, Tourism Disaster Preparedness and Response Act of 2025, Declaration of Policy. The state acknowledges that the Philippines is being prone to natural disasters such as typhoons, earthquake, volcanic eruptions, and floods. So must adopt comprehensive measures to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of tourists in times of disaster and emergencies. So this act will serve as an action or methods to ensure the safety and security sa mga turista sa Pilipinas, especially in times of disaster and emergencies. So sa kadaghang turista sa Pilipinas, for us, this will be a very important. So we as Filipino, dili lang nato ampingan ang atong mga beautiful spot, nature, and resorts, but also maghuna-huna sadta sa safety sa atong mga turista. This act seek to strengthen disaster risk management system, improve coordination between public and private sectors, and ensure the effective and efficient emergency protocols are in place to minimize the impact of disaster on the tourism industry.
Definition of terms. First, we have tourism disaster preparedness. So this refers for establishing of policies, safety protocols, evacuation plan, systems, and resources designed to anticipate, prevent the effects of natural and human-induced disasters on tourism destination. Second, tourism disaster response. Also, this refers to coordinated efforts and actions aimed at providing immediate relief, evacuation, rescue operations during and after a disaster. Third, tourism establishments. So these are the business that providing services to tourists, including hotels, resorts, tour operation, transportation companies, restaurants, cultural sites, and recreational facilities. Fourth, Disaster Risk Reduction Management Plan, or DRRMP, refers to a strategic document that are prepared by local government units and tourism establishment outlining preventive measures, safety protocols, communication system, evacuation plans, and recovery procedure during disasters. Fifth, Tourism Emergency Response Task Force refers to a multi-sectoral body responsible for coordinating disaster preparedness and response efforts in tourism destinations, composed of representatives from the Department of Tourism, local government units, tourism establishments, non-governmental organizations, and relevant government agencies.
Scope and coverage. This act shall apply to all tourism destinations, tourism establishment, local government units, and relevant government agency responsible for ensuring the safety and security of tourists during disaster and emergency. The act covers all types of natural and human-induced disasters, including but not limited to typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, floods, pandemics, and acts of terrorism.
Key professions. Disaster preparedness planning. All tourism establishments are required to develop and implement a disaster risk reduction management plan, or DRRMP, that outlines preventive measures, safety protocols, evacuation plans, and recovery strategy. So, ang tourism businesses needs a plan na dapat kahibaw sila unsay buhaton before, during, and after sa calamity. Like unsaon paglikay sa disgrasya, asa padung kung mag-evacuate, ug unsaon pag-recover after calamity. Maong dapat ang ilang plano is updated permi. Local government units, or LGUs, in tourism destination must integrate tourism disaster preparedness protocols into their local disaster risk reduction and management frameworks. They shall also conduct regular safety inspections of tourism establishments to ensure compliance with established standards. So, this means na ang local government dapat i-appeal nila ang tourism sector sa ilang disaster plans ug monitor kung safe ba ang mga tourism businesses. A Tourism Emergency Response Task Force or TERTF. This task force shall be composed of representatives from the Department of Tourism or DOT, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, and the RRMC, local government units or LGUs, tourism establishments, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, and the other relevant emergency. Ang Tourism Emergency Response Task is usa ni siya ka team nga mag-coordinate sa pag-prevent o pag-respond sa calamities that includes katong DOT, NDRRMC, LGU, tourism businesses, NGOs ug other relevant agencies. So the next key provisions is the Tourist Assistance and Information Systems or TACS shall be established in all major tourism destinations to provide tourists with information on safety guidelines, emergency hotlines, evacuation procedures, and available assistance during disasters. So ang kaning tourist assistant is mo ni sila ang magbutang og kanang tourist information or guide about sa mga ways para magpabilin nga safe or like mag-inform sila sa mga emergency members nga pwede matawagan in case of emergency o kabalo sila if asa pwede mag-evacuate o etc. Next is the training and capacity building. Tourism establishment, local communities, and LGUs shall be required to undergo regular training on disasters preparedness, evacuation procedures, first aid, and crisis management. Ang mga business sa tourism or kanang community o LGU need sila permit ready in case of unforeseen events like bisag kanang may calamity or emergency, mao mag-provide sila trainings unsaon pag-evacuate, first aid o unsaon pag-atubang sa mga crisis. Then ang Department of Tourism is mao mutabang sa paghatag sa training. So the last key provisions is the collaboration and partnerships. The government shall actively collaborate with private entities, NGOs, and international organizations to enhance disaster preparedness in the tourism sector. Public or private partnerships shall be promoted to improve resources, enhance technological systems, and strengthen overall preparedness efforts. So, ang pasabot ani is ang government makipartner sa mga private business like mga non-government organizations o mga international na organizations para ma-improve ang pagpangandam sa kanang calamity sa tourism.
Penalties and enforcement. Non-compliance with the provisions of this act shall result in appropriate and sanctions, including fines and ranging from 100,000 pesos to 20 million pesos, depending on the severity of the violation. Repeated violation shall be met with suspensions or revocation of license and permit in issue to tourist establishment. The Department of Tourism, in coordination with the National Disaster Risk and Reduction and Management Council and the RRMC and relevant agencies, shall be responsible for ensures compliance with this act. Violator shall be subject to prosections as prescribing by the law. So, If someone doesn't follow the law, they will have to pay a fine between 100,000 pesos to 20 million pesos depending on how bad the evaluation is. And the third, Department of the Tourist dot and the RRMC will make for sure everyone to follow the law. The third, so it's mean you should go to court now. And thank you, this is my part. Why does law is necessary? The Tourist Disaster Preparedness and Response Act of the 2025 essential to protect the lives and well-being of tourists visiting the Philippines. As a country prone to various natural disasters such as typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and floods, it is crucial to establish a comprehensive legal framework specifically addressing the tourists and seek the disaster and preparedness and response. Tourists are often unfamiliar with the local safety protocols, evacuation and procedures, and emergency hotlines. This lack of awareness can be placed and deemed a greater risk during disasters. Additionally, the tourist industry contributes significantly to the country's economy. Therefore, the absence of well-established disaster management systems can result in serious economy losses and reputational damage. So, this law it is important because the Philippines has a lot of natural disaster, likely typhoons, earthquakes, floods, and tourists who visit the country they might know what to do during emergency. So, umabisit ka sa Philippines, kinahanglan jud ka motuno ka, for example like yung panahon, like kinahanglan jud ka magtan-aw sa mga balita or sa mga website or mga sigaran mga like unsay bay panahon ba nindot pa or di. So kinahanglan ka to know about this emergency. Okay, with this law, tourists will be safer because will be clear the rules on how to handle disaster. Second, tourists will learn about the safety rules like where to go, who to call in emergency. Third, the tourism industry will be protected so people will still want to visit the Philippines and business won't lose money. So, before ka musod sa Pilipinas, kinahanglan jud ka ma-safety ka. So, kinahanglan ka mag-safety ka sa imong travel and kinahanglan jud ka naka-insurance. So, mo visit sa Philippines.
So, how it benefits stakeholders like tourists, businesses, local communities, and etc. So, in tourists, they can benefit from having clearly established safety protocols, emergency hotlines, evacuation plans, and multilingual information systems. Through tourist assistance centers and the tourism disaster hotline, tourists will have access to immediate guidance and assistance during emergencies, reducing the risk of injury, loss, or death. In tourism establishment and businesses, by adhering to disaster preparedness protocols, tourism establishments enhance their reputation for prioritizing safety, which attracts more tourists. Implementing disaster risk reduction management plans also helps reduce liability risks and potential financial losses caused by disasters. In local communities, this act empowers local communities by involving them in disaster preparedness and response efforts. Training and capacity building programs enhance their resilience and enable them to actively contribute to the protection of tourists. Additionally, the law encourages community-based tourism programs that provide locals with additional income opportunities while promoting local culture and heritage. And government agencies and local government units, this act establishes a unified framework for coordination among government agencies, LGUs, tourism establishments, and NGOs. It ensures that tourism-related disaster management systems are well organized and effectively implemented. Furthermore, this collaboration promotes efficient use of resources, better communication systems, and timely response during emergencies.
So potential challenges in implementation. Una is coordination and collaboration, kaduha in financial and response constraints, ikatulo ang training and capacity building, ikaapat ang resistant from tourism businesses, ang ikalima is technological and communication barriers, kaunom is maintaining compliance.
Final provision, the Department of Tourism in partnership with the relevant agencies shall formulate the implementing rules and regulation necessary for the effective implementation of this act within 6 months from its approval. The necessary funding shall be included in the General Appropriation Act or source from available funds as deemed appropriate. This act shall take effect 15 days after its publication in the official gazette or in less 2 newspaper of general circulation.